Hello and welcome to Shannon Gardens. Thank you guys so much for joining me. So in this week's video, I wanted to share with you guys an update on our backyard. We've been working on some projects and you guys may have noticed that I've been moving from spot to spot in the last handful of videos, particularly in the introduction videos. I'm not in the same spot that I usually am in. And I wanted to show you guys the projects that we've been working on and why I've been moving around. I've got all of my containers updated in the backyard and wanted to share the plants that I chose to plant in each pot, some new containers that I've added to the mix, and a new way I am planting some of my vegetables this year. So a lot to cover, a lot of different things we've been working on, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. So let's get to it. Okay, so I thought I'd start with the biggest part of the project, and that is redoing our platform deck and getting new furniture on that platform deck. Now, we've had a wooden deck for years that we've had to maintain, and quite frankly, just got tired of maintaining it. So we ended up going with the composite board for our decking material, and this is something that my husband rebuilt. I had no part in that except to provide moral support and hand over some tools when needed. Otherwise, that was my husband, but we're so happy to not have the maintenance of that wooden decking anymore. And then we also went with a low maintenance furniture set, and we chose the Polywood brand. Now, this video is not sponsored by Polywood, but I did want to share with you guys who we went with just in case you're curious about that. But we really like these chairs and this table that we got. And again, are just thrilled to not have to do the maintenance that we used to do with our other furniture that we've had for so long. Yeah. We also got a side table there that matches some of our accent colors and in the Polywood brand as well. And then we've got a new umbrella that's solar actually, so that's pretty neat at night. And staying in this area, we have the hanging baskets here, which has the Rio Red Dipladenia and the Creeping Jenny. Now, I did a video when I planted these hanging baskets, as well as a couple of others a few weeks ago, and I'll put a link in the description if you care to take a look at those as well. As we go to the left, we've got some new planters here, and I'll walk around and show you what we've got planted in each of these planters. Now, one thing you'll notice is that at least with these three grouped here, they are in the same color scheme, which is a whitish gray. The two here have a diamond type pattern, and then I do have one more that I'll show you guys here in a moment that also has the same pattern. Now, I know I've shared with you guys, I really like so many different gardening styles, and I don't think that there's one that I don't care for, but one that I have been very interested in here, particularly lately, is Mediterranean style gardening. And so I wanted to incorporate that a little bit in this area, and actually just took a class on Mediterranean style gardening, and we'll be doing a video here soon sharing some of the information that I learned in that class. But in keeping with that style, the first plant that I have here is French lavender. And this has been blooming here for the last few weeks. The bees have absolutely loved it. It has been so lovely. I really like having this lavender. I've had it since, I believe, last summer or fall. And I thought that we might lose it over the winter, but it came back and it's been doing very well. So I'm very pleased with that. And I know that lavender can be a bit touchy, and so I'm very happy that we still have it here with us. And then in the corresponding smaller pot, we have lemon thyme here, which is so fragrant and lovely. I absolutely love different herbs, so very excited to have that in this container. And then in this container here, which is a rather large container, we have the Summerlasting Coconut Crape Myrtle. Now, you guys, I am very excited about this addition. Look at the color of these leaves, this deep burgundy, and they actually almost look leathery. I don't know if you guys can see that there, but they look leathery to me. Now, it's just starting to bloom, and it has these bright white blooms on it. So I think that that's going to look so pretty against these dark leaves, and then in the white pot. I think that's going to play off of each other quite nicely, and I cannot wait to share with you guys as this continues to bloom through the summer. This particular crepe myrtle is a dwarf that gets 3 feet high and wide, so it's not going to get too big. And like I said, I haven't owned one that's had the darker leaf before, so I'm thrilled to add this to our containers. Now this is another container that we have, and it's kind of in keeping with that white and gray and brown motif that we've got going on in this area. And it's really neat because it has a unique texture to it as well, which I like. In this container, I've planted the Vibe Ignition Fuchsia Salvia, which I actually have in my perennial garden as well. I really like this salvia, although I don't know that I've met a salvia I don't like, but I really like this one. It's done very well in my perennial garden. This is a smaller growing salvia. It grows 18 to 24 inches high and wide, and it's just a prolific bloomer. The hummingbirds love it. If you guys have been watching for a while, then you know that I really like to plant pollinator and hummingbird attracting plants, and so was thrilled to add this one again, just in a container this time. Now I have another container here. This has another salvia, which unfortunately the pot did not say what the name of this salvia is, but it is a bluish purple, very pretty. It's an annual, it's not a perennial. And it's so pretty there. Below that, I have the white pentas. Now, what I think is really neat about the white pentas is they have this darker leaf, which really helps the white coloration of the flower stand out. I think that that looks really nice, and it helps pop that out. And then below that, we have the Blew My Mind Dwarf Morning Glory. I planted this last year in a different container, and it did very, very well in the summer. So I'm very excited to add that back in, and it's in keeping with the bluish purple color that we have in the salvia above it. Now, one thing you guys might notice is in a lot of my planters, I do what I refer to as a stacking method. Basically, I like to stack it from the tallest all the way down. These pentas will fill in nicely. And then, of course, this vine will fill in nicely as well and take up some of this space as things continue to grow through the summer. But you'll find that is a common theme in a lot of my pots. Now, not everyone. There are some, like this one with the salvia, where I may just plant that single plant. But otherwise, you're going to see this method quite a bit in a lot of my containers. So we're moving to the next container. And again, this is the one I was referring to earlier that has that diamond pattern as well. This is the Rosemary Arp, ARP variety, and we've just planted it in here, again, keeping with kind of that Mediterranean style, and very excited to have that in this container. We use a lot of rosemary around here, so that's very, very exciting to add to our container area. So this one has been one of my favorites for the last few summers, and it is Royal Cape Plumbago. Look at these beautiful flowers, you guys. The butterflies love them. I've had it the last couple of summers. I really wish that this was a perennial in my area, but unfortunately it is an annual, but that's okay because I will just enjoy it as long as it lasts. Now it is marked for zones 9 through 11, so it may be that it's a perennial in those zones, but for me in zone 7B, 8A, it's not going to work out. It doesn't work out for me as a perennial. So I've just got it as an annual. It blooms spring through fall, and it is just absolutely beautiful. I think that the color is stunning. Next container, I have the purple and white Capitan Dianthus. This is something that I planted a little earlier this year, and I was unsure if I was going to move it to my perennial garden or keep it. I've decided to keep it in the container for now, but I think I will probably be moving this into the perennial garden in the fall. But for right now, I'm going to keep it right here. It smells really lovely. I just like having it in the container and a bit closer to me. I think that is very pretty. And so I'm leaving it as is for the time being. In this container, I have my Speedwelll in the back here, and it's just been deadheaded, so it's just starting to get its spikes again, and it'll start blooming, and I'll insert a picture of how that looks. I have this planted in my perennial garden as well. I really like how it performs, and it was a newer plant for me that I planted last year, and it's just performed really well in my garden. And then below that, I have this gorgeous Lantana. Look at that bright pink and orange and yellow. And so I've got a couple of those planted there that will fill in. Now I have to be honest, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with this little area here. I have a potting bench that's seen better days, but I don't have a replacement for it, and I do tend to utilize it some. So I decided to keep it and plant some plants in it, some overflow plants I had actually gotten on sale. So first, I have my Daphne, my winter Daphne on the left here and the container on the ground, which I absolutely love. That's been there since winter, and I did a video on that, which I'll link in the description if you guys would care to learn more about that. And then in my pots, I have my Sedum, which is making a reappearance from last year, so that's coming in quite nicely, and I love the feeling of that. And I have my Creeping Jenny, which also is from last year and is coming back this year. Below that, I have my Purslane, which has just started to close up because it's getting into the evening a little bit here. So if you guys are familiar with Purslane, it opens during the day and then it closes up at night. But I do think I have some open in another container, so I'll be able to show you guys that. Here I have my Rio Pink Dipladenia, which is just starting to bloom. And it's got a few buds on it, so that's going to look really nice as it fills in and kind of overflows over the pot. And then I also have my Calibrachoa. Just look at that color, you guys. Very, very pretty, very bright over here. And I love my Calibrachoa. That's definitely listed as one of my top 5 annuals in my top 5 annual video that I'm linking in the description. And cannot say enough good things about Calibrachoa. I've had very good luck with this myself. So you guys let me know in the comments if you guys have tried the Calibrachoa and what kind of luck you've had with gardening with Calibrachoa. Okay, so moving on, I've got Angelonia in this pot, which this is the first time that I'm actually planting this. This is something that I've seen in the gardening centers many times. I've always thought it was pretty, but I don't know that I've ever planted with it before. So I'm very excited to give it a whirl. I've read good things about it. So I've got that planted there. And I just think that the blooms almost reminds me of an orchid. It's really, really pretty. Below that, I've got my white Pentas again. And then planted with that, I've got more annual Lantana. I've got one here and then one up here as well. Now this pot is a little bit more in a darker corner, and so I really wanted to put some brighter colors in here. First, I started with the chartreuse colored grass in the back here. I think that that's so pretty. I'll show you guys a close-up of that grass. And it was not marked, so I don't know the name of it, but I thought it was quite pretty, so I included that here. Now below that, we have the Sunpatiens, which are marked for sun or shade. I find that personally that they do best in part shade. That's what they get in this corner here. They've got this bright fuchsia color. I just think that helps brighten up this area. And what I really like too is the different texture and the leaf and the color. And I think that that plays nicely off of this grass, and is definitely something that I try to keep in mind when I am planting, is to not only look at the flower, but look at the structure of the plant, and the leaves and the coloration of everything, and kind of take everything into account when I'm planting, or at least I try to keep that in mind as I'm planting. And then below, I tucked in some Creeping Jenny that I had coming back from last year. And I think that this chartreuse color, it will fill in, it will flow over the pot, and it's in keeping with the chartreuse color of the grass as well. So I think that this is a nice addition to a darker corner, and I'm very pleased with the results here. So here I have another container. I've got my Rio Pink Dipladenia again, which is about to bloom. So I've got that planted here. Below that, I've got some yellow marigolds. And then here is the other Purslane that I was talking about. And just look at that color, so pretty with the stripes, the orange and yellow stripes. So I think that that's lovely. And of course, that's going to fill in as well and drape over this container. Okay, so this is something new for this year, and I'm really curious to see. It's a bit of an experiment. I am trying these grow bags for some of my tomatoes this year. This is something that I haven't done before. I've been very curious about, and if you guys have ever used these, please let me know what your results have been and what your experience has been, because I'm very curious to see how they do. So you'll notice I've got some rather small tomatoes there, and I have to be honest with you guys, I bought tomatoes weeks ago and just didn't get to planting them until this week. I just did not have the time, and I did not plant them. So they're looking a little sad. I don't know how they're going to do, but I've got them planted there, and along with some marigolds. And then I actually went and bought a few plants that were bigger so that I could hopefully actually have some tomatoes just in case my smaller plants did not do so well. So I've got 3 grow bags of the bigger tomatoes. And then I've got several of the smaller ones planted both in the grow bags and in my usual elevated planters. And I kind of just wanted to run an experiment and see which one was better. So we'll see how that goes. Now behind here, I don't know if you guys can see this, hopefully you can, I have a hibiscus that is coming back. I've had this one for a couple of years and I'll insert a picture of it. It's got these beautiful big red blooms on them. And so I will show you a picture how that looks when it fills in. And then below that, I've planted Lantana. So it kind of has a bed of Lantana below the taller stalks of hibiscus. And then lastly, at least for now, I have my mint in its own pot. If you guys have any experience with mint, you know how that can overtake. So it gets its own pot now. And then I have elevated planter with some herbs, some oregano, basil, thyme and sage, and 1 jalapeno plant. And then I have my elevated planters with cucumbers and then the few other tomato plants. Again, these are the smaller ones that I probably should have planted a bit ago, but got them planted now. We'll see how it goes. But I've got those planted as well. And if you guys will notice, I've got these little bamboo sticks that I put together. I used some gardening wire up here. I actually ran out of tomato cages, and rather than going and buying more, I remembered that I had these bamboo sticks. And so I put them together to act as tomato cages, hopefully, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see if they stand up. I'm not the best at putting things together, so we'll see how these things hold up. But I was very excited to give it a try, and I really like the look of it. So I'll let you guys know how that pans out as well. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm so excited to show you guys what we've been working on in the different projects, and we'll continue to share that with you as we wrap things up. So thank you so much again. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so that you can be notified each time I upload a new video. All right, you guys, until next time, happy gardening and goodbye.